That's very well to see in a bit. A messy mix of rain and snow has already begun in parts of the state.
Yes, so News 95 Nahant Water is live right now. Hello, everyone. Hi, Leanna.
Hi,
How are you?
good. How are you guys?
How do you do here?
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, can hear you okay? Yeah, I'm great. Okay, so let's begin. Let's call this meeting to order at 7:06 p.m. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. If we could just please have a moment of silence for those that passed away. So moving on to reading and approval of the minutes from our last meeting dated December 12th, 2023. Has everyone had an opportunity to read them? And if so, any comments, changes? Right,
No changes.
if there are no changes, could I have a motion to approve? I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from December 12th, 2023. Do I have a second? All in favor? Aye. So hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. My eyesight's not the best, so I do not know who's here. Hello.
Well, Madam Chair, if you'd like, I'd like to do an acknowledgement of the visitors. Great, so of course we have Leanna Deloy, your colleague. We have Madeline Federo, Nancy Caggiano, Ruth Cobus, and Hancock and Lemoyne School Departments.
Okay, well, welcome, everybody. Welcome. Okay, I'm gonna open it up to correspondence and community input. Has anyone here received any community input or correspondence? I have not. I have not. No.
I have not.
Is there anyone that is out in the community that would like to speak? The other hand.
Don't see any hands raised.
Well, if there are no comments, I'm gonna move on to the examination and authorization for payment of bills.
Madam Chair, Scott Bullock has just joined the meeting.
Hi, Scott. Thank you, Mr. Williams. Okay, so moving on to the examination and authorization for payment of bills.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Excuse me. Later, I will ask a member of the committee to make a motion to approve $660,955.37. Obviously, with that total, the community recognizes that on the bill roll this evening is one of our 3 payments to the town of Swampscott for educating our, this year, our 6th through 12th grade students. That bill is $556,145.67. It's also large because you had one school committee meeting in December, during the second week of December, and we have bills that have been sitting for a while. So they are very typical bills. There's nothing unusual in our on our bill roll. There are bills from Pool and Electric. There are our exterminator, plumbers. We have special education tuition bills. We have one of the bills for a bus company. And as I said, very typical. I don't know if any of you have any questions, but I don't want to belabor the point. We also have a monthly bill from Seaside Pizza for our lunch program. And Madam Chair, unless there are questions, I would respectfully ask the member of the committee to make a motion to approve $660,955.37.
I'll make a motion to approve the bills this period for a total of $660,955.37.
I'll second, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so moving right along into the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The first item is the security and safety grant update. I do want to tell you that over the weekend, my heart skipped 14 beats because you probably are aware the governor was made a press release that she had withdrawn $375,000 worth of local earmarks. At this point, based on everything I can ascertain, she has not taken any of the earmarks that are going for education. As you know, I'm also the president of the board of Massachusetts Partnerships for Youth. We lost $75,000 on Saturday. We had $150,000 earmark for programs for student health and safety, and that was cut in half. But so far, our $50,000 safety and security grant seems like it's going to hold. I can't undo the work we've done so far. I don't want to not go forward because everything I have found to date is that this $50,000 grant is going to be maintained for the rest of the year. So, let me go backwards. The last thing that has happened is 2 of our automatic door closers have been replaced by security lock and security company out of a local company, and they did a great job. Today I walked through for the video upgrade with instant alarm, 3 individuals from them, a salesperson and 2 technicians. So we're gonna have 5 cameras, either 4 installed and 1 replaced, and all the wiring, and we're also gonna get a new server so that we can better communicate, particularly with the police department. We do have a system in place now. I don't know if you want to see it, but I have it loaded up on an iPad where because of the internet, we can actually tap into the cameras from wherever we are. Obviously, they're protected and with a double passcode. But it enables us, like today I was talking to Vinny and I said, you know, Vinny, if you loaded this up on either a laptop, an iPad, or your phone, when the weather's bad, like it was Sunday, you don't have to get in your car and drive all the way to the school. You can literally look and see what's happening at the school online. So, but that will be upgraded. When Nemlet toured the building several months ago, they picked out a couple of dead spots on the outside of our building, and we are closing those spots with cameras. The locksmith will be coming back to do the keyed entries. The thing we're waiting for was the first thing on the list, the window security film. That company has really apologized for the delay, but they are flat out. Basically, the entire state of New Hampshire has been putting this window film on 100% of their schools.
Yeah.
And so it may take a while.
By demand.
And then the other thing we're still waiting for is the flip charts, the new flip charts. As a matter of fact, Mr. Andrews is gonna bring the information on a thumb drive and a sample of the flip charts to another printer so that we can get comparative prices. We went to Staples, we talked to somebody there was no problem. Then we went back to give them the thumb drive and there was a problem, so. We'll work through it. So right now, we have about, we have exactly $45,487.85 committed of the $50,000. And, Mr. Andrews just gave me the possibility of another small project. Vinny was, thinking that he would like the bollards covered with a plastic, very visible. They're black, and we did put tape around them in 2 places, but he's thinking that if we put a yellow sleeve, it would make it better. He's probably right.
Like random content, is it like padded what you're
No.
gonna do or not?
No, it's just a,
Will it be less?
it would certainly be better hitting plastic than it would iron.
No, also you'll see it.
Yeah.
Even if it was a little dark out,
Right,
you know,
exactly.
that's good.
So that's the update. I'd be happy to answer any questions if anyone has any.
No, thank you so much.
You're very welcome. And Madam Chair, with your permission, I'd like to defer to Mr. Andrews for the principal's report. Of course.
Thank you, Mr. Parentozzi, Madam Chair. Happy to share my report tonight. We have a lot of exciting things happening at the Johnson School, and as I'm sure you've seen in the newsletter, we have our second enrichment session starting January 22nd with similar programming. So we have 3 sessions that Ms. Edmonds is organizing, and this is the second of 3. I have included in my submission to you a summary of the summer programs in Nahant that I'll be sharing with parents. I'm still waiting on some information. I've reached out to Nahant Youth Soccer and the Country Club Tennis Program to find out if they're gonna be offering something for the summer. But otherwise, I have programs from Island Roots, our own summer enrichment program at the school, sailing program, Park League, and also Swampscott Summer Theater. And they came to do a presentation to the students when the band came. And they're gonna be offering a drama program for students in grades 3 to 9. So I thought that parents would wanna know about that. So I'm just working to get a 1-page summary of all the options that parents could expect. Myself and Island Roots are really trying to get our programs advertised early. And so we'll have registration up by January 16th. Which is early. Earlier than sailing, I believe, won't have registration until April. But other programs will be coming online soon, and I know it's important for parents to be able to plan. And so we'll get whatever information we have out to them in a timely fashion. We had some wonderful concerts over the holidays. I hope you're able to appreciate some of them. We had a concert in our school and then also at Town Hall. It's important, I think, to split the grades. We had 2 full audiences at both programs. I said, why don't we do 2? And then I realized, wow, because we're filling 2 whole rooms at these. People are bringing grandparents, aunts, uncles, friends, family. And so, it's really, I think it's special to have an evening program at that time of year, when it's dark, when everyone's together. So the Town Hall program was wonderful. I want to thank Scott Bullock for really pushing hard to get that through, and all the students that did some great work at that, as well as the art teacher who really made it special at the school with her decorations and the art that was contributed. So kudos to all the folks that made it possible, and thanks for their efforts. Also, in the area of students, family, community, I wanted to let you know about our upcoming kindergarten numbers. We have census data in. And right now, we have 17 students that are currently enrolled in our preschool program that will be eligible for kindergarten. In total in Nahant, there's 24 students that are eligible for preschool that are on the census. So what that tells me is that, we have 17 and 24 students that are eligible for kindergarten. Which is great. I mean, I think it's a compliment to Ms. Pastor, Ms. Caggiano, that, how many people want their students in our school right off the bat, which is wonderful. And it means that we could probably have we could probably expect a kindergarten class of about 20 students in the coming school year.
Right.
Probably one class. So it looks like a nice, solid number. In the area of technology, we are using the data dashboard in iReady to develop SMART goals for teachers to improve math instruction this year. We're really focusing on differentiation and looking at students that are below grade level in math and seeing what skills they could improve on. The great thing about IXL, it's always improving and it makes a skill plan for students. And so at our next faculty meeting, I'll be going over the new features of IXL that allow that to be possible. Teachers are really using IXL now to do a quick morning quiz where they can, doesn't count for, anything besides, do I know what my students know? What did I teach yesterday? This morning, I'm gonna measure that, and then I'm gonna jump off from that. And Ms. Rusine has been using it, and then I had her share it with the faculty. And it's really nice to be able to get that measurement quickly. You don't have to correct papers, and you can really see where your students are at. So I think it's fantastic. And then that kind of leads me on to curriculum instruction and professional development. In math, we're working on everyday math games. We've got card decks that have fractions on one side, numbers on the other. We'll be using those to build more engaging math lessons that are really hands-on for students. It's actually part of the everyday math curriculum, but one we haven't really emphasized. And also letting teachers know about IXL updates. IXL also offers units now. So it's not just skills, it's here's what you do day 1, day 2, day 3, and it seems like they're morphing into a full math curriculum. So that's pretty interesting. It has hard copy worksheets you can print that look like a workbook. And you might be familiar with the skill that students
Yes.
practice online, but this ties in with it. It's called Takeoff. It's so new that they haven't done the whole year yet in any grade, but they had the first half of the year produced, and it comes with our subscription. So I'm excited about that and seeing how we can take advantage of it. Also in the area of curriculum instruction and PD, I'm happy to let you know that we were awarded an $1,100 grant for our origami program. When I offered it, I asked the Mass Cultural Council to fund it through Nahant. And Nahant decided that this was a worthy program. And so they have funded our origami, math, and marine animals program. And we'll be sharing with them the outcome of that. Also, the same presenter is gonna be coming back this trimester and offering a no-cost program as a pilot for his club that comes out of Harvard, which is about shells. Maybe I've mentioned this to you before, Malacological Society. So he's gonna come out, unrelated to origami. He's gonna donate a set of shells that are labeled, and we're looking for a display case. I'm working with NEF on that. And so, yeah, it's pretty neat. I went to one of their meetings, and I mean, it's neat. It's 40 people in the room who are excited about shells from all over the world. And it's just, it's fun to see these folks.
Especially in a short community, like how awesome.
Yeah.
Then the kids will go to the beach and.
Yeah.
Looking for the right, what the shells are named.
Yeah, right, it's like a mini museum, and so, and I see on Facebook Marketplace, lots of shops that are getting rid of like a display console for $100, so and that's an NEF, that's an easy thing for them to, it's harder for us to write a check to somebody like that, but where a person could write a check to another person, and so we'll be getting those in this year, and I'll let you know how it goes.
That's great.
Our PD session is this Friday, January 12th. This is the schedule is in your packet, and we can have a quick look at that. It was developed with lots of input from the staff. They really appreciated Sarah LaCourciere, also known as Sarah Wayne. And we met with her this week with some teachers to give her guidance on what we would like her to do for us in the area of literacy. And we're also having Mr. Jerry Morris back, who got rave reviews from his Collins writing program. And so he'll be in the afternoon. You'll also see some times for teachers to do common planning and also independent work on goals that they have. And so these are really some areas that, you know, we've worked with teachers to say, you know, what's gonna be the best thing for you. I'm getting some training on our new phone system, so you'll see that in there as well. We can play music on a new phone system, and I don't know how to do that yet, so. I'm looking forward to having him come in to show me how to use this. Kids say, why do you have two phones, Mr. Andrews? I said, I don't know yet, but I'm gonna find out. So I'm looking forward to learning about that. And finally, to wrap it up, we had Mr. Bullock launching the recorders in third grade.
I heard about that today.
Oh, good,
Yeah.
good.
Some of the students were talking about it.
All good things, I hope.
They're
Yeah.
excited. Not sure how excited the parents
Yeah,
are.
I was just gonna say that.
No, I'm just kidding. That's great.
Well, you know, he opened it up
That's
with,
great.
he knows how important engagement is, and so he opened it up with playing some notes, but then also turning the recorders into these bird call devices where they were woo, 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 but they're taking their recorder apart and putting their fingers inside and making it sound like different birds. So it was great. So I think they're excited about the opportunity. I know I'm glad that we have these instruments from Yamaha that are about, you know, $7 to $8 a piece. And each student has their own labeled, so we don't have to worry about germs. If it's dirty, it's your own fault.
Yeah.
And students can take it home to practice.
He's wonderful. I just
Mm.
can't say enough.
Oh,
I
I'm
mean,
not
I mean, the energy, the
He
passion, he really is.
Yeah, yeah, we're fortunate to have him and glad that he's on board.
In addition to the concerts, which I thought were some of the best in terms of all the focus, like to see every young person focused on what they were supposed to do was really incredible. But in addition to that, I also really loved going to the authors morning and Miss Andrews' class, you know, and I thought it was so well done. Like, I think one of the special things about it was in addition to each child, like having authored their own story and then telling you about their story, the parents were encouraged to go to every child, right? So that, and then write something in this sort of like autograph kind of book, like visitor's log. And that was great. It was interactive and it also allowed the kids to practice with other people that they didn't, some they knew and some they didn't know as well, you know? And so I thought it was a really nice piece of work and like right up there with like some of the best stuff that I've seen anybody else play, everything that Scott Bullock does, like, you know, just really good stuff. So I
Right.
appreciate it.
Really has great staff.
Yeah.
If I could add to that, you know, we've had great attendance through this difficult time with colds, flus, everything else, and also excellent substitute teachers. We've had excellent staffing, I have to say, we haven't scrambled a day.
Great.
I haven't pulled teachers to do meetings or paras, so you know, a lot goes out to the staff and all the people that pull together. When I call a substitute teacher that can't make it, they feel so badly. They wanna contribute to the school and help us out. So I think that speaks to the morale here, and I think it's special.
Yeah.
Glad to be here. And that concludes my report, Madam Chair.
Back to you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. In your packets, you have a picture of what used to be, I would consider a debris field. This is an area that's under the gymnasium that, when the building was renovated in 2005, 6 to 7, leftover parts were basically thrown in there. I've been working with our emergency management director, who was also our police chief. And we have cleaned up that area. We have had a concrete floor put in there. And the emergency management material that you typically see either at town hall, at the police station, or here during an emergency that is in a trailer will be permanently stored here for everyone's convenience and for its safekeeping, because the Johnson School is the emergency center. So that's a step in the right direction. Obviously, having the materials permanently stored in our storage area in the emergency shelter makes a lot of sense. So I wanted you to know about that because you're hosting that. Congratulations.
Well, thank you for cleaning that out. I'm sure that was not fun.
So Madam Chair, last meeting, I talked to you about the fact that our lead content was below the federal level of 15 parts per billion. We had, I mean, actually, the highest level we had was 4.96 parts per billion. I have been speaking to the state experts. And I have a letter drafted that I'm gonna pass to you, and Madam Chair, I believe I sent you a copy. And if you could pass those down. I'm going to be sending a letter to parents and guardians and our staff. I've already talked to the representatives of the staff. I think that our goal should be 0 lead. There's no lead is healthy in water or in food. I mean, that's the bottom line. So, what we're going to do is follow the United States Environmental Protection Agency's revised 3T manual guideline, which basically says anything above 1 part per billion should be you should make an attempt to get rid of it. Now, that doesn't mean it's unhealthy. And I want members of the community to understand that. It's really the maximum contaminant level goal is 0. 1 part per billion is 1 part per billion because there's no test for it below that. The other thing I found out through my discussions is it's really not 1, it's really 1.45 because they round down, and above 1.545 they would round up to 2. Because at that 1 part per billion, it's, you know, scientifically it's, you know, it's, I would say a drop, but it's not a drop. It's something so small that it's hard for me to imagine. So what are we going to do? Well, number 1, we're going to implement a flushing and water usage plan, which is recommended by the Massachusetts DEP and the Public Health Department. The copper and lead comes from the flow of the water through copper pipes that have lead solder that when it's old, and through lead pipes, which I don't know if we still have any in town. The good news is all of the fixtures that children drink out of or get water out of have either no lead in them or below 1. But it's still in the building. So what I have done instantly is we have turned off all of the faucets, the fountains in all the classrooms. So the classrooms that have sink have a sink that has a hot and cold gooseneck, and it has a faucet. A fountain, a drinking fountain.
Bubbler.
A bubbler. All of those have no water in them anymore.
So
They can't drink out.
they want some, yeah, they just can't do
That's
that.
correct. Again, from my research, the hand washing and bathing in lead water is absolutely not a health contaminant. So we're gonna do that. No taps or fixtures with detectable lead concentrations will be used for drinking. Now, I'm saying that we don't have any of those, but I wanted to make sure parents understood that. All the classroom fountains have been shut off. Students and staff and visitors will be directed to use only filtered water. That's the bottle filling stations and the fountains. So right now we have 3 of those. We have 1 outside the nurse's office that's both a fountain and a water bottle filling station. And we have 2 in the cafeteria. 1 in the cafeteria is just the filling station, and 1 is a combination fountain and filling station. I'm adding one as quickly as we can downstairs by the early childhood rooms, because my thinking is the littlest kids are the ones that probably won't be using bottles, they'll be drinking. So we're gonna have a fountain down there with filtered water. And then we're gonna take our two remaining new fountains. And they're the ones that you can see as you walk out right next to the special education office on your right in this hallway. It has two fountains, a little one and a big one. We're gonna put local filters on those. The studies have shown that filtered water is better for your health than any bottled water you can buy. All of the bottled water that's been tested basically is spring water and or well water, and it has had some contaminants. So filtering the water is the best thing we can do. So that's what we're gonna do. So in the future, all of the drinking or filling of bottles in the school will be done through a filtered system. All unfiltered fixtures will have signs that say, don't drink this water. And we will be doing an educational plan with our students to that effect. We will continue to use sinks for washing. And the students will be, and parents will be asked to bring bottles for drinking water like we did in the past. So it's an aggressive plan. It's far beyond the requirements that we have, but I think it's what's best. Now, the lead in water, the three of you know better than I, are particularly problematic to pregnant women, infants, and nursing women. We do have women on staff who are of childbearing years. Therefore, I've made the decision to really go to the max on this. And to make sure that there's no lead available for drinking or putting in your bottled water here in the school. The letter that I'm going to send home has a 3-page document with it from the Massachusetts Department of Public Health, which is different than DEP. But I think it's important that parents know that we're taking this very, very seriously and with an abundance of caution, taking immediate action.
The only question I had was, so are you putting a new water bottle filling station in, or you're moving butler? Are you acquiring a new water bottle filling station? I'm trying to follow all of
That's okay. What we're going to do is put one new fountain and water filling station in downstairs, because we don't have one down there. Then on each floor, we have the more modern 2-level fountains. They were inside the wall will be a filter. So we'll end up with 4 water filling stations and 5 fountains.
My question was, when we put the water filling stations in, we got some funding for it, do you remember that? We got a grant.
Yeah, we got one grant and one.
We got one, and I have contacted the state
Yeah,
Department of
wanted-
Environmental Protection
Yeah.
about another one.
Right.
And of course, I called a week ago and I will call again.
yeah, because I remember they were encouraging the water filling stations environmentally friendly, and they were giving out grants.
I can tell you, I'm not waiting for the funding, I'm putting it in, and
If we get the funding.
if we get the funding, we get the funding,
Yeah, that's great.
okay? It's about $3,000.
Yeah.
The filters will be much less expensive.
Right.
I toyed with the idea of not putting a water filling station downstairs, because it would have been a lot cheaper, but I think we need one on that floor.
You need increased place, use water, yeah, and it's easier than filling it up from the butler.
So the reason I'm doing this in great detail, and I had this letter, by the way, this letter has not gone out, please look at it, make sure you approve of it and you think I'm being clear. I have had people at the state review it. Someone at University of Massachusetts Water Quality Project actually reviewed it with me. So I'm pretty sure it's good. But you may have, as a parent, you may want me to say something else. I didn't want to negate the seriousness of it and start by saying, you know, we have, the water we have here is okay. Because theoretically, it's not, because it may have lead in it. Obviously, the filter stations don't have lead in it. But, and in the interim, we'll be flushing every place that children are allowed to drink water.
I think the only thing that might be confusing for parents is, you know, where we talk about the level of protection being 1 part per billion. And then in the lead section of the letter, it's saying that the tolerance is 0, but you can't get to 0. So, you know, maybe just clarifying that 0 really is, you know, it's a detectable
Yeah, on the
level.
second page,
Yes, that's what.
I tried, what I did is I used the state's language because I think they figure it out better, you know, they were dealing with this.
Yeah,
The maximum contamination level goal is 0.
right.
As the person I spoke to said, you know, getting to 0 would mean replacing every pipe from the reservoir to your home.
That's what I mean, like, so, you know, I just don't want there to be confusion about what 0 is.
Yeah,
So it may be just a.
so you want me to say it's a goal
And
again?
well, I think that 0 is unachievable, so you can't have a goal of
Yeah.
an unachievable thing.
You know, I almost said that, but we're going to achieve it in our filtered stations.
But the tests for detection.
Oh.
Is to 0.
Well, if we're only allowing kids to drink from filtered water stations, they're the ones they're gonna test, and we're gonna come up 0. So I was in this,
Oh, but in the letter, it says that the detection level is 1 part per
right,
It's impossible, I think, excuse me, but I think it's impossible, you're saying it's impossible to know if there is 0.
billion. Right.
Cause they round up,
oh, okay,
because they round up.
all right.
No, because they don't know if they're,
You can't test that low.
No,
Yeah.
there's,
That's what I mean.
That's
all-
right,
that's
yeah.
my comment.
The only
I don't
reason
want it to
it's-
be- I know, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
I just don't want it to be.
the only
unclear.
reason one is because they can't test 0.9,
Right.
yeah,
right?
That's exactly
exactly,
what I'm saying.
yeah.
and that's what you're saying, so if you can help me with language, I'd be
Yeah.
happy to
Yeah.
change it.
Yeah, I think it's just simple and put in parens, like, note that the detectable level for testing is 1 part per billion.
Okay.
Or do you just get rid of that very first line, maximum?
Yeah, or you can do that too.
That's I think I have to have that paragraph, that's directly from the DEP.
Oh, the paragraph, yes, the first
The
line,
first
1
line,
million, you can get rid of the whole.
How about no lead? You know, not use a number, use a concept. Anyway, let's think about it, and
Yeah, I
please,
did.
text me or email me, I'd be happy.
Sure.
That's why I didn't send it out, because I
Yeah.
knew, you know, you could help me. And, Lana, I'll send you this tonight before I go home,
Thank you.
okay?
Thank you, Tony.
Exciting last year.
Yeah.
Speaking of exciting, I don't believe any of the current members of the school committee were on the school committee when I suggested that we could do a partnership with Bay State Textiles to recycle soft goods from our families and homes. There was a little resistance, but the majority of the school committee said, yeah, why not? I thought you'd like to know that since I put it in, the student account has been earned or been given, probably more accurately, $3,985.40. And the only thing we had to do is put those white boxes out there. They take care of everything. They come, and you know, one of the concerns was, frankly, when I had it in the city, it was a realistic concern that they would overflow.
Yeah.
And it would be a mess. And here, that has not happened once.
Yeah.
They have a schedule where the first year they figured out how many times they had to come,
Yeah.
and they kind of do it a little bit more than they have to, which is great. It's either every week or every other week, depending upon the season.
It'll be interesting to see if this number increases with the limitations of trash, of disposing this
Yeah.
material and trash now. So,
Well, the thing I was interested in is, February is a bad month for recycling soft goods. It's the lowest, you know, I thought like, July, August, nobody's here, but people come and they use it, but February, so we're gonna put something in the newsletter. In February, try to boost that
yeah,
number up.
absolutely. Let people know. Too at town hall, maybe, you know, I don't know if there's a community section for stuff like this, but to let residents know, since, you know, there is that trash restriction.
Yeah.
Where they can deposit.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Chair.
So moving on to old business.
Thank you. In your packet, labeled item 7A, you have the third version of the superintendent's budget. I would simply like to bring to your attention. Troubles. That I have reduced the budget. As you can see by the bottom line, if you go, I always like to start last right-hand number. So it's approximately $152,000 less than the last time you saw the budget. A lot of that is caused by me trying to fine tune numbers. And I will continue to do that. The next school committee meeting is really the last opportunity I have to do that. Unless something dramatically changes between that January meeting and our first meeting in February, which also will have the budget hearing
Before, half an hour before.
half an hour before, right?
So that's the next.
No, the meeting, we have the meeting in January and then the one in February, there's the one that we started. in February.
So I really try not to change the budget between the January meeting and the hearing unless it's important, serious, significant, because, you know, you don't have time to internalize it and ask me questions about it like you do on other ones. So if we start with the first page, the salaries, regular full-time health services, I was able to tune that number down $2,260. If you go to the full-time teaching employees, that really hasn't changed. However, I'm going to do a little analysis on the number of teachers we need. Right now, we're predicting 1 kindergarten, but we'll have 2 grades with 2 sections. So the question
First grade
is,
Fourth grade.
so the question is, particularly with 4th grade, because that's the grade that if kids are going to go, students are going to go to the charter school, that's the one that may happen.
We were
So-
talking about that at the last meeting, though, and you won't know.
I won't know, so I hate to gamble, I mean, that number has $64,681 in it for a 3rd-year master's degree teacher. So, so I'm probably gonna have to leave it.
Yeah.
Okay, right below that, the sped teacher's salary, I corrected that down by $1,242. I dropped the longevity payments, $1,000. That could be a little bit more down by next time. I took our technology supplies and dropped that $1,000 because we've been doing a good job with technology. Plus, we think we were going to be able to replenish begin to replenish the classroom desktops by using mini Macs.
Mhm.
Did I get that right? Yeah. Okay, which is the brain as compared to replacing the entire unit because it has a wonderfully operating screen. So why get rid of the screen and everything else, the sound works. So the brain, which is $500-ish compared to $1,200. So if that happens, I can reduce that number even more.
And sorry to interrupt you, Tony.
Please do.
Did we also discuss the last time, maybe the potential of reaching out to NEF? To see if that was
the
something,
technology.
the technology part, to see if that would be something that they could, do a fundraiser for, that we could lessen that maybe.
We did talk about it and I apologize, I haven't done it yet. I've been busy finding out everything I never wanted to know about later.
Yeah.
So if you move down to library supplies, that's been reduced $1,000 because we've been overspending that and fully spending that for several years now. The guidance salary went up $1,944 when I fine-tuned that. I realized it wasn't large enough. The speech salary also went up $2,069. Contracted services for special education and psychology, when I took $2,000 out of that. I took $5,000 out of these custodial supplies. Because we have two items, we have custodian contracted services and custodial supplies. So I felt comfortable based on past history that we could do that. I also took $5,000 out of school building maintenance, again, based on past history. I realized that we could do that. And the big change is that the private schools out of district tuition, I dropped to $527,406, which is a drop of basically $20,000. And I came up with the bottom line number of $4,902,410. That represents an increase of $319,857, or an increase in percentage of 7.026%. So basically 7.0.
No, 482, 4872, the number on the far right. Yeah, you read the number that was right next to it.
I'm sorry, you're right. I read the wrong column. I apologize because I'm using the crib sheet. I apologize. Yes. Everything else is accurate. So I did want you to know of the $319,857 increase, $177,800 comes out of three accounts. Three accounts are causing 3.9% of the increase. Sped tuition, the new teacher, and the Swampscott increase, which includes the payment for this year's current sixth grade. If those three weren't there, the increase would be 3.1%. I'm going to try to get it down a little bit further, but my guess is it's going to be the highest increase I've ever proposed here. It's going to be in the 5+%. But I think it's understandable.
Oh, yeah, absolutely reasonable. Tony, I had a question, and I know I've asked this question every single year, and I apologize that I can never remember the answer. How are the circuit breaker funds addressed in the budget?
In past years, the circuit breaker funds were used by me. In 4 different school districts. To offset unforeseen expenditures. That I would know about when the budget is created. This year, I'm going to have to use the circuit breaker to pay for an unexpended, very large expenditure that has already happened. Next year's, so the question in my mind is, what do I do with next year's circuit breaker? So again, I won't know how much it is, but based on past history, I'm gonna say it's gonna be a minimum of 50,000. It could be a little bit more. I may use that to drop the budget. Because the budget's high,
Right.
and I haven't done that in the past, but I'm thinking about doing that. The
Only
other,
because we won't use the entirety of the circuit breaker. this
no,
year.
we'll use 100% of the circuit breaker account, but then next year we'll give more.
Okay.
And you can use that to offset any unbudgeted expenditures. Plus, this year, there's 2 additional things we're doing, and I've been talking to Debbie Canal already. She's the person who was working with Mary and me, and will be submitting it. We have what's known as extraordinary relief. That's typical of what happened to us.
Yeah.
We had a budget. So extraordinary relief works this way. If a district spends 1.25 times the budget, they get back approximately 75% of the number over 1.25. So what the state's saying, look, if you're a quarter over your budget, you gotta deal with it. But anything over that, we recognize is hard.
Mhm.
So that's one thing we're doing. We're applying for that.
Okay.
Were we 1.25 over our budget?
And that, yeah, for the special education.
Oh, it can just be a portion of your budget.
That's right.
Oh.
A portion.
No,
No, just special education out of district court.
Okay.
So but that money is applied for in May. And it's actually money that the district will get next year.
Right.
So I'm trying to figure out how much we're gonna get to drop the budget.
Right. I'm just wondering, like, in terms of, going to the finance committee to
Yeah.
have this, increase, but also
A plan.
a plan to say that it may not be this bad and it could look like this if we get this amount.
Well, the budget's the budget. Once you voted, I could go back, I mean, if we find out things could be better, I could recommend that we go back to the FinCom. They don't like that for obvious reason. That means all their paperwork has to be redone. When in the 3rd week of March in 2023, I found out that we would be having a student that was costing us $0, cost us $693.13 a day.
Right.
I chose not to go back. I chose to figure out how to do it. And that'll be part of the presentation this year to the FinCom.
Okay.
There's this 3rd pool of money that until Saturday, when the governor cut $375 million out of the earmarks, I was optimistic about. It's called a reserve emergency for special education. The difference between that and the unanticipated 1.25 is you get that money in the current year. And they do it a little earlier. I'm worried that there may not be any money.
And so for that 3rd option, is that something that you have to apply for, be granted, and we'll know potentially before the budget?
No, I'll know it before town meeting,
Okay,
but not before the budget meeting.
okay.
So there are the four factors I'm dealing with. I think if I can go in with about a 5.5% increase, which would be about $260,000, when $177,000 are those three increases that I talked about. I think a reasonable FinCom, and they've always been reasonable with me, would be able to say, okay, we understand that's as low as you can go. However, if you do get some of this other money, make sure you do what you've always done, and that's return it to free cash.
Right,
Since I've been here, the district has returned $1.2 million to free cash.
and I think that's also an important number to have.
Yeah.
When we present.
I agree. So that's, I was gonna say plan, but it doesn't sound much like a plan.
Well,
It sounds like it's in process.
Plan A, B, and C.
It is, yeah, you know.
It's a plan in process.
Yeah. Right,
So I guess the bottom line for you as members of the school committee to understand is between this meeting and next meeting, I have some serious decisions to make about where to go. There's a presentation workshop tomorrow that Mary and Debbie will be going to. So hopefully even by Thursday, I'll know a little bit more.
thank you, Tony. Thank you very much, I know budgets are not fun.
No, and I'm gonna tell you, I'll give you the bottom line numbers. The student that I described, who is very appropriately placed, will end up costing from March of 2023 to June of 2024, $315,000.
And that's why we, the state rightfully has these things
That's
in
right.
place and in hopes that, we can get some of that funding to offset that cost. That would be. As long as the state has.
So I can talk a little bit about the superintendent search update. So we had closed applicants from applying on the 21st of December. They did. As of today, we have 3 applicants that have applied. They're very strong candidates.
Oh, that's good.
So which is great.
3 isn't a high number.
It's not, but there's a lot going on in terms of like. 3. But they're good candidates. So the next step is getting together with the committee as a whole, reviewing the applications, making a determination to who to invite. There'll be consensus to invite all 3 to come in to interview. And then we're drafting out interview questions. And so I had a conversation yesterday with Glenn over at MASC. We were supposed to meet tomorrow, but I have a scheduling conflict, so we're looking at our calendars. And hopefully by next week, I can get the whole committee together. And then we can decide exactly when to invite applicants for interviews, which we're hoping to do end of January, early February. And just get the ball rolling.
Thank you for all your work on.
Oh, no, my pleasure. That's not to say, though, that if there's a candidate that would like to still apply, I'm completely open, they can still apply. So if anyone knows anybody, spread the word.
Madam Chair, can MASC send out that message for you?
Absolutely, yeah.
I think it may be
Yeah.
a good message to send out that applications will be accepted until whenever you and Glenn so choose. And having been through hiring way more than I want to remember, hiring administrators as superintendent. One of the thoughts I had when you have a small number of highly qualified people, you want to go through the process You wanna get the opinion of all of the members of the interview team. But you don't wanna reduce the pool. Because unfortunately, what happens at the end of a process is sometimes people say, no, thank you.
Right, yeah, if you have three.
So I would recommend that you give consideration to having the interview team interview. And rather than reduce, prioritize.
I agree, completely agree with that. My recommendation to considering the pool that we have.
I guess I had questions about that, and really appreciate the role on this a lot. And I wondered if one or you, Tony, or you have any insight as to why only three, any thoughts? It seems like
Really special situation.
Yeah, well, I'm
Well, how does it
sure,
compare to like when Tony was hired? You know.
I have no idea
Do
what
you
the pool was.
You were hired to.
There were two.
Tell me.
Yeah,
It's very
so maybe,
special.
the only interview I had was with the school committee, a public meeting with the school committee.
Yeah, I know the process was very different. I know there was a committee put together for the superintendent search, but I know MASC was involved in the
Right.
search. It was very different.
Yeah, I believe there were only two interviewees.
I think there was
Yeah.
more applicants, I guess.
It didn't surprise Glenn,
Okay,
that we received 3 applicants. I think part of it is that it's not a full-time
Right.
position.
Yeah.
And also, I mean, there's a lot of like superintendents, if you look around, school districts are struggling to find superintendents. Look at what's happening in Marblehead. I was shocked,
can't even talk.
you know, so I don't know how many superintendents out there really want to be superintendents.
Well, watching situations like Marblehead would not make it work.
Yeah, right.
Marblehead, what happened on Western Mass about the ladies thing.
I can name a dozen
Yeah.
places where superintendents who started this year in July are no longer in
That
the
will-
seat.
Yeah.
And I'd say in my career, the typical number in Massachusetts was 2 or 3.
Can I ask a question, Patty, when you have a second?
Of course.
When do you expect us to, are we sort of like the last phase of the
So-
process? I guess that's sort of my question is like, at what point will we be involved?
So what will happen is after we interview the candidates as a committee, recommendations will be.
That's
made
a search committee.
As a search committee, recommendation. School committee regarding the applicants that we should interview. And at that point, we will be interviewing the candidates in open session.
Right, okay, that's what I thought, thanks.
But when we interview the candidates, we being the search committee, that's closed session, it's private. So that's where we are. So we're getting there. So stay tuned. By our next meeting, I'll have more news. So moving on to long-range planning updates, if no one else has any questions. Thank you. Long-range planning.
Madam Chair, the long-range planning agenda item is there for the school committee to discuss any changes in the structure of the grades that you, I didn't take it off because I believe one of you mentioned that you, at the last meeting, that you may want to talk about it again.
Has the information been shared? Like, I just don't know what moves forward in terms of what the plan is.
I don't know if we have to share it with people.
Because we decided that
Not
there was gonna
because
be
there was no
Change to the school. And
And we did discuss that at open session last
Yes.
time.
I can say, Madam Chair, if I may, that I did start to have discussions with the teachers and the community, just regarding Memorial Day Parade. What does the end of the year look like for our students? So we have started just so you're aware of planning for the fifth graders to be rising sixth graders.
That's great.
So the meeting, community meeting, the fifth grade parents you talked to,
No, no,
Okay.
just simply the teachers. And in terms of what we're expecting for the end of the school year, are we, are we looking for a send off? Are we looking for moving on ceremony? Those types of things is what we typically would be planning right now.
I think I was gonna suggest that because the class we did send off to Swampscott for sixth grade was a small class, we said it's because it's a small class. That there was a lot of buzz about what happens with this class. I don't think people understand that it's a non-vote if we don't do anything, that it just stays the same as it was. And it might be good to tell the parents that. Another reason, I was wondering that anyway, and then informally, not for a school committee or a public session or anything like that, but I happened to end up in a conversation with a fifth grade parent who said, who thought we were gonna do the same thing as last year. And I said, I was not at the school committee meeting last time, which helped actually, so I can only speak as a community member. My understanding is they took no action, which would mean that the fifth graders would go to sixth grade here. But I had to, that was a surprise to that person, to that parent. So it just might be good to be proactive here and say, hey, the school committee met in December, they decided to take no action, which means this, right? So that people are just really clear.
Yeah, I mean, I understand the argument of that if there is no action, why would we be advertising that we're not making it, that there is no action, you don't generally advertise when you're not doing something new,
Right.
but I can say
It's
because
because of
it's
what happened.
no, just because it's a small community and you hear people talking, and I encourage people to come to the school committee meeting, but there is still a lack of understanding about what's happening next year.
And remember, one of the things we got a little bit, we got some flack about and
transparency.
was about transparency and about why didn't you advertise? Why didn't you tell us? What were you gonna talk about? Like,
Although I feel like it's been very obvious.
Yeah.
I do. And I from like running a show, it is amazing how many times you have to tell people a thing, I just don't want, I don't want it to be March
I think you're
and
right.
have 10 parents in here, who, sort of
Why?
yes, and then we explain that then, but then we're flat-footed at that point,
Yeah.
Even though I understand, I totally understand, and I was thinking like informally, Mr. Andrew, like parties that have the most skin in the game are the fifth grade parents, so like just tell them. Hey, just flagging for you, this is what we met, we talked about this, decided on no action. This is what it is.
So Madam Chair, if I may, to you and your colleagues, what does that communication
That's
look like
that's what's been
from
sitting in my
home?
head.
And my recommendation would be it would go to all the parents.
Yes.
But perhaps, we could two-step it.
Yep.
To the current fifth grade parents, maybe I'm making this up, on a Tuesday and everybody gets it on a Wednesday, or a Tuesday night, Wednesday morning kind of thing.
I mean, I think it's a great idea because like I said before, I mean, this conversation spreads beyond Nahant. I talk to people in Swampscott, they think that we're sending kids there forevermore in the sixth grade.
Yes,
Like, I just think that, this year was different, next year is gonna be the same as usual.
Yep.
I think that's all it's gotta be.
right,
We're gonna be back to a K-6 next year.
Yep. Mr. Andrews and I would be very pleased to assist the committee in any way you determined, but I hesitate to think it's that the communication should come from one of us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It really should be from the committee.
okay.
Yeah.
Could you send it out on our behalf in the two-step process?
Absolutely.
Okay, that would be my,
Yeah, just because again, like you said earlier, transparency was important, and though, we all feel like we've been transparent about the meetings and, declaring the timeline that we were gonna make decisions, people are still
right,
not
Clear.
sure.
not clear.
Yeah.
In the absence of information right in front of us, people will make up their own narrative.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, if you gave me what you would like the message to be, we, you know, we can craft it, send it back to you for your approval, and then we not only could send it to the parents, you know, we have the Parent Square portal, so we know they get it, we know when they open it and see it. We could also post it, and of course, we would send it to Swampscott too.
That's a good point too.
Yeah.
Is that we should probably tell Swampscott.
Well, I think Patty has to.
Oh,
I have the, yeah, well, we have the right to exercise up through the end of January.
Yeah. That's not out yet.
I, when you say Swampscott, you mean the committee?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I did talk to Mr. Kalishman about it after we had our meeting because he wasn't aware.
Okay,
Right,
so you
well-
talked to him, okay.
We have it, that,
yeah, which we have to.
Okay.
do by-
Say it again? Sorry.
We have a deadline, so we just have to do it by the deadline officially from the chair.
Right. I was more just updating him about how the meeting went because he was curious. And he, yeah, so.
Sure, so I think we have emails from last year, if I remember correctly. So I'll see if I can dig them out. We can use them as a template. That's good.
Whatever the committee chooses, we'd be happy to make it easy for you.
That I remember looking at them and editing, helping editing them, I can't speak. So I helped it because I never deleted the email. Okay. So we can move on to policies, our favorite subject matter. So Leanna, do you wanna be the lead in the reading of the policy numbers? Or would you like?
I'm happy to do it. It might be a little bit easier if somebody there does it, because it's probably easier on paper, but I'm happy to do it if you want me to.
All
Can
right.
I- Before we get too far into the second readings, so there was the policy JC, which is attendance areas. Was that, I remember that the assignment of students to school, we had a first reading, but we're not
Right.
keeping, but what, I don't remember the attendance areas.
Yeah.
JC, we're also not?
Yeah.
Okay. I just want to make sure the policy did.
So I have the new one I sent you, plus I have the original, so I can tell you which ones are missing. The attendance areas are missing, the assignment of students to
Yes.
schools,
Yes,
and
there was a school choice that was.
School
an old-
choice.
That was an
The
old
negative.
policy. Now there's
the
a new
positive school choice
Yes,
is
yes,
missing.
yes,
Everything else is here.
yeah.
And then the last one that you looked at last time, the JICA, the student discipline, that was just for comparison.
Right. And the school choice is the JFBB one, because the JFBB
Right.
was removed.
Okay.
Well, you said shall I?
So, I'll read that. I know when you're ready.
Ready.
I'll make a motion to approve policy JB, equal educational opportunities. Second reading. Do I have a
I second.
I'll make a motion to approve policy.
Oh, yeah, sorry, all in favor? Aye.
So that's for the second reading and approval.
Yes.
I'll make a motion to approve policy JF, school admissions, second
Second.
reading.
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
I'll make a motion to approve policy.
Madam Chair, if I may, JFAB has a paragraph that I crafted based on the conversation that I would consider, that I think the school committee members may want to consider.
Yep.
It says, quote, students with a Nahant resident affiliation who do not reside in Nahant may be admitted to the preschool program by specific action of the school committee if there is space in the program. Did I get it?
You did get it.
Right, right.
Right.
Yes, you did.
Yeah, so basically,
Yeah.
we wanted to make sure that there was an affiliation, so not just anybody,
That makes sense.
and to be fair, too.
Yeah.
Divorce parents, yeah, exactly.
So I'll make a motion to approve policy JFAB, admission of non-resident students, amended second. Is that correct? To say it that way?
No, that,
Okay.
as
fine.
presented.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I
I'll make a motion to approve policy JFBB one, school
Madam
choice.
Chair, if I may, I apologize again for the interruption. It's JFBB. The only reason there was a one is there were two of them,
Oh,
and
Okay.
we chose the one to be JFBB.
Policy is JFBB.
Right.
Okay. I'll make a motion to approve policy JFBB, school choice,
second.
second reading.
I second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'll make a motion to approve policy JH, student absences and excuses, second reading.
Second motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'll make a motion to approve policy JICA, student dress code, second reading.
Second motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'll make a motion to approve policy JIC, student discipline, second reading.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, moving on to new business, we have a surplus.
Yeah, this is really good news. It's not as good news as I thought it would be when I actually crafted the agenda. So Essex Tech has a fairly large number of plastic chairs with metal frames that are very similar to the ones at Town Hall, the orange ones. So as soon as I realized they were available, I immediately contacted the director of facilities up there and said, you know, we want 250 of them. Because all of the temporary seats we have in the school are basically from the opening of the school in 1950. They are the old-fashioned metal folding chairs.
Yeah.
That's all we have. Several days after I did that, the town manager contacted me and said, well, they're better than ones we have. How about if we take these and you get the orange ones?
No, our acquisition.
And in the spirit of municipal school district cooperation, I said, why don't you go and get them all and then we'll figure it out. So the town is going to be getting a free simply for picking it up. And I will remind him that we need to get them soon. And we'll figure it out, because I don't think any of us need the number that's available. I think the number's 350.
There might be enough for everybody.
Yeah. And if not, we can have, you know, we're a school, we can have half white and half orange. You know, we're not as formal as the town. And since our budget is what it is, it's
Yeah.
good to keep the
Let's
town
trim it-
manager
let's trim
happy.
it a little bit.
Okay,
Purchase.
and then Madam Chair, labeled item 8C in your packet is the annual report from the North Shore Education Consortium. And unfortunately, I have an update for you. I'm on the board of the Education Consortium. You actually vote that every spring. They have just contracted with actually, our plumbing provider, Amante, for $2 million worth of emergency work. So all of the costs at the consortium will be going up,
Yeah.
both immediately and for next year. One more bit of financial pleasantry. So,
How many
I
kids
don't
do you
know
have?
how it's gonna happen yet, because they're still working it out. What we're trying to do is figure out how to do it so that it's chargeable as a special education expense.
Yeah.
So that we get reimbursement.
Yeah.
So,
How many kids do we have there, Tony?
4. And we pay for 5. No, we don't. No, we have a $10,000 annual fee. It was remember, it was $15,000 one year. Yeah, it's just 10,000. No, we pay per student.
So we're paying $10,000 per student.
No, we pay significantly more than that. We pay $10,000 basic fee to be a member of the consortium. And we have the right to 5 seats,
Oh, okay, got it.
but we pay for, because it may be, you know, in the lower school, the upper school, or it may be at the specialized school.
Yeah.
And the charges are considerably different.
And then member and non-member.
That's right.
There's member and non-member fees, so the pricing is different.
Yes. And then one other thing in new business is about 2.5 months ago, something came across my desk in an email. And I said, wow, that looks interesting. So I applied for a grant. And we now have 100 of these books. They came today, as a matter of fact. They are so cool. It's a book about energy conservation. And it's a wonderful book. I mean, it has moving parts and everything. It's Mr. Andrews will decide how they are distributed. Place where teacher and parent notes, and it's basically a story about ecological behavior. So isn't it cool?
Yeah.
And it's, I want to thank on your behalf and all of our behalves, their Harold Grinspoon Charitable Foundation,
Really?
who paid for these books.
Yeah, he's a big funder for public charter and district schools out in Western Mass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So sometimes it pays to read your emails.
Yeah, it does. It's also exceedingly
Not
hard.
all the time.
It's really hard to get money out of the foundation. It's a hard foundation, so nice job.
Thank
That's
you.
incredible.
Okay, so moving on to new policies first reading.
Okay. So, you already got more emails about this group of policies from me than you ever want to
Yes.
see. I thought it was kind of interesting that I put in tonight's school committee meeting, all the policies that were in the December newsletter. I just thought, you should know that, because
Your witchery, you know,
Yeah.
you had with foresight, like Leanna, you know?
no, that's not me at all. Okay. So, Madam Chair, I'll tear through them, stop me anytime for anything. I do have some comments about several of them.
Okay, we're gonna talk about district email when it comes to that.
Yes. Okay, so item JICH, alcohol, tobacco, and drug use by students prohibited is the current policy. The recommended policy, JICH, is substance abuse.
Yeah.
The only difference, obviously, the substance abuse policy is very, very different than our current policy, is very specific. It gives parents and guardians an opportunity to know exactly what's gonna happen, which is good. What it doesn't have in it that I found fascinating is in your current policy, it says that parents and guardians shall be notified prior to the opening of school each year what the policy is. And I don't see that in this one. I may have missed it. Or it may be because it's the policy of the Nahant School Committee to abide by all state and federal laws and regulations regarding drug and alcohol abuse. So I just simply wanted to affirmatively say that we will be posting this and it will be in the handbook, even though it doesn't say it. Okay? And of course, in the interim between this meeting and next meeting, if you have any questions, because it is very, very detailed. It is consistent with the DESE guidelines for its new behavior and of substance behavior. It's actually it's a little more direct. I'm gonna use the word direct. So for example, it says if illegal drugs are involved, the police will be informed. The other policy didn't get into that level of detail.
Yeah.
Okay, policy JICK, which is the harassment of students. It is again consistent with all of the June 2020 and passage of law and the acts of 2022. And it obviously creates a public statement that harassment of any kind is not acceptable. The old policy focused on student-to-student harassment, which is obviously what was done in the past. And this one covers all of the harassments possible. Policy JII, kind of looks like Jill to me.
I know, I thought it actually said J H when I was looking
Yeah.
at it small.
Student complaints and grievances. It's simplified, it's updated in 2021, and it's cross-referenced to two other policies, including the student involvement in decision-making policy and the student discipline policy. It's a little bit simpler and less wordy than the one we have, and I recommend it, obviously. As a reminder, these are all drawn up by attorneys who work for MASC. So I hesitate to edit unless you so choose, and then anything you want me to add or delete, I'll check with them. Policy JJH-R is new. We do not have a student travel regulation policy. I think it's a good idea to have one. Obviously, we follow all the guidelines about overnight travel. This one is very specific and puts into policy basically what we do. JKAA is physical restraint of students, which is a very hot topic right now. It really gives the responsibility to the superintendent in writing, identifies the principal as having a minor role but an important role in staff identification. And then it also limits any kind of approval for timeouts to 30 minutes without principal approval. It's much more detailed. And I recommend that you add it to your policy manual because it is consistent with current Mass General Law and DESE guidelines. My guess is in other sections of the state, that policy and the next one, corporal punishment, may be more important than, the Boston area. But obviously we should have it. JKA corporal punishment, MASC recommends we remove it.
So,
Right.
I was literally listening to Dark Weeks of this.
Seriously?
I was like, what am I listening to? What? Like in the South.
Yeah.
Especially in
And
the
our
South.
There are states where corporal punishment there are procedures, but it is still legal. JLCB, inoculation of students, will be changed to immunization. And Cheryl looked at this for me and wants it. It's very simple. JRA student records. Very few changes. But the references are a little bit different, and I recommend that we adopt it as amended by MASC. It's kind of weird when you see a current policy that was drawn up in 2019 references the Family Education Right and Privacy Act of 1974.
Right.
That, I mean, it's startling. I mean, it's a good act, but it's kind of.
It's pretty outdated.
Yeah, kind of wacky. This is one I want to bring to your attention, student photographs with current, your current policy, the last sentence of the first paragraph says, quote, awarding of the photographic services shall be conducted through bidding procedures. The new policy, student photographs, I assume it's changed because the word photographic is being used inappropriately. Does not say that it has to be bid. And that's because a few years ago, the state decided that certain school functions would be streamlined if the bidding process were not required. And school student photographs is one of them. As a matter of fact, the BESC and the Mass General Law gives principals the right to choose who photographs the students in his or her own building if they consult with the parent organization, the student council, and a designated student committee or staff committee to take individual blah, blah, blah. So I wanted to bring that to your attention. I have always bid it. Our current contract is from July 1st, 2023 to June 30th, 2026. It's with the GESCAS. We did have a committee. I did put it out on the street for bid. We had 3 companies bid. The committee chose to stay with the company we had. A lot of my decision was based on the individuals in the school who actually deal with the company. You know, how convenient it was, how responsive they were, and everyone was happy. So if the school committee wishes me to add that sentence to this policy, I would say it a little differently. I would say awarding the contract for student and staff photographs shall be conducted through the bidding process. If you want it that.
If we don't have that money, we can still bid.
Absolutely.
Yes. Yeah, so. Yeah, okay. Yeah. You better say.
Okay. Will do. This one, BHE, again, is a little bit different. But it basically states the open meeting law that you function under. No, you don't deliberate, and you exercise caution when communicating between and among yourselves.
You can call this the thank you Boston Schools.
And this was updated this year, so it's very current and consistent with all the requirements of law. And I recommend that you put it into your.
Absolutely.
The district security relating to technology. This is a new one. And I believe that, once again, the wonderful superintendent has the responsibility to develop and maintain an effective district data protection system. And luckily, I'm a techno wizard. Obviously, that that action will be delegated. And we do have one in place. And once again, this is brand new. Data and records retention
So this
is
is the
new,
one that
and this
requires,
is the one,
oh, sorry. I don't
EHB
DH.
is the one that I sent you information about.
Yeah.
This says in the last paragraph, second sentence, as such, all district employees and the school committee will be given district email addresses. I am ready to engage that with Charles if you want that,
Okay,
Yeah.
Yes.
okay?
I think it's protecting our
Yeah.
private lives.
Yeah.
I do want you to know this. Not that you would probably ever think about this. You may not delete anything on these accounts.
oh, okay. No email,
Yeah.
you can't delete them?
Like, once you read them, you can't delete them.
No, no, you can archive, you can put them in a file.
You can archive them,
But you can't. delete
you
them.
may, I mean, I'm talking about the district email that I'm gonna send you.
It's public record.
Right. You could delete things like a sales pitch. I mean, somebody sends
But
me,
anything
you know,
But
do you
no
wanna
school
buy my
committee
book?
business,
Yeah,
we
go
can't
on.
delete any.
But in terms of any communication with any person, any parent, anyone at town hall,
Yeah.
any other school committee member, you have to have them permanently archived.
So when you send, since it sounds like it's gonna happen imminently, I imagine you're gonna send all of these emails with like policy readings and stuff like
Everything.
that.
Okay,
It just all of that. communication.
All of my communication, except happy birthday or
Yeah, right.
the anniversary, all my communication with you will be through these new.
And how do we access them? Would we have login information?
By Charles.
How would you access it?
Charles will give us.
Yeah,
a
Charles,
login.
Charles,
I know,
He's on.
sorry, I
You're asking
said the wrong person. When I asked the
I was
person,
gonna
like,
say,
wait.
you use your phone or computer.
Yes, I know, but
Yeah, you'll,
Okay, got it.
you will be sent,
in
and
detailed instructions.
I'm gonna tell you what it's gonna be, it's gonna be your first initial, your last name at johnsonschool.org. Then Charles will send you a process by which you choose a password, he keeps it on record. And then once you have your password, you can't change it, he has to.
Okay.
That seems strange. That seems strange. You would imagine that he would set it up and then we would change it, but, okay.
Well, maybe,
Are there
maybe
any-
if that's what you want. See, I just give him what I want and he does it, so
Oh, yeah.
maybe,
It's probably not the way it
can I
works for
recommend that you
everybody.
do it that way? It's really
Yeah.
easy. Okay,
To go through and put all your passwords on a piece of paper.
Lauren, don't answer that question.
Yes, I don't wanna know. Or you
I-
use the same one.
If there were any, who require disclaimers about public, that they're.
Oh, yeah, like language that goes at, like your
At the
signature.
bottom.
Yes.
Yes,
Let us
Yes.
know what that is.
Should we get it?
there will be a statement
like what's on yours?
Legalese.
that's on mine.
Yeah.
And you know, I noticed districts are simplifying that.
Yeah,
They're saying, Mass General Law states that public communications may be subject to disclosure or something.
yeah.
You know, ours is much longer.
Ours is very.
But-
But Charles should be able to set that.
Yeah, just,
Oh, yeah.
just to make
Oh,
sure
yeah.
that, yeah,
Yes.
it's set up.
Yeah, don't ask me how.
No, I know.
Yeah, Charles will set up that.
Okay.
Okay. GBEE, personnel use of technology. There's a couple of new things for us here that I want to point out. The third paragraph, which really isn't a paragraph because it's only one sentence, says all staff must agree to and sign an appropriate digital use form prior to being granted access to district digital resources. Currently, we don't do that and we will start doing it. And then the fifth parenthetical says employees' communication is a matter of public record. This extends to employee use of social media when conducting district business. I absolutely tell people not to use social media for district business, but obviously people can. And I'm not sure that's in our guidelines now, but we will put that in.
Tony, I got lost in my packet and I just wanna make sure that the use of electronic messaging by school committee members, which is the current BHE. Then we have the new BHE, which is the use of electronic messaging by school committee members. And then there's another one, EHB. You just talked because they're, okay, I'm switching around many things, never mind,
Okay?
yeah.
So-
It would be,
Yeah, now we're on GBEE.
okay, thank you.
So we'll be changing our handbooks and putting those things in them. Access to digital resources, IJND. We do not have this one. By the way, what MASC has done is taken what most of us have had in one big policy and they fractured it. And there must, if they're doing it, I'm sure there's a legal reason to do it. So this says, this title is access to digital resources. And the only thing I would caution you about, that the last sentence in the first paragraph of this one says, the school committee intends to support such use with appropriate budgetary allocations, providing the timely updates to technology as necessary. The first time I read this, I went, ooh, and then I said, ooh, the verb is intends.
Right.
That's like,
Yeah.
may choose to, right? So there, it doesn't box you in. The next one is IJNDB, and this is the acceptable use policy, which we currently have. I think it's fascinating that what they have done is they've created a whole bunch of other policies that detail acceptable use, and then have changed this policy to use of technology in instruction. And once again, if the attorneys have decided to do that, there must be a reason. And the important thing is that your policy is that students should use all digital resources in a responsible, efficient, ethical, and legal manner. I think everything else is kind of gobbledygook. Okay, acceptable use of digital resources. So this is one that took the place of our current acceptable use policy dash technology. So this one is fascinating to me. Once again, it puts the superintendent responsible for effectively, and it's that the second parenthetical with the bullets, controlling access by minors to inappropriate manner on the internet as defined by the Children's Internet Protection Act and the Children's Online Privacy Protection Act. We do that. I would love to sit here and tell you how I was personally involved in making sure
Yeah.
the filters
Right,
filtered
right,
everything, and but we really we take pride in that if a staff member says, gee, a student was online in the building using our equipment and our internet and was looking at blank, we adjust it. And I do test it, because that's probably the only thing I'm knowledgeable enough to do. So for example, I tried to get in onto Netflix the other day and won't let me. It's good. I'm not complaining. And then annually, all students must agree to and sign an appropriate digital use form developed by the superintendent in conjunction, blah, blah, blah. This form must also be signed by parents, guardians for students under the age of 18. I have a problem with this one.
But it's not part of us, the standing, and I mean, it's in the handbook.
Parents.
Oh, no, student has to sign the handbook.
Yeah.
My student signs a handbook.
I know, but this says all students. We have pre-K kids here, okay?
Yeah,
But are
but
they
kindergarten,
considered part of this?
No,
We had
it's
the same
kindergarten
question
not.
the last time.
Yeah, so
It's
pre-K is
kindergarten
not,
now.
so it's K through six.
Okay, you're okay with it, I'm okay with it, I just read it and went, oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's a
Yeah.
great way for parents to have to talk about technology.
Yeah, you know, that's a very good point.
You know, it makes
I
them
think
do
of
it.
that. Okay. Leave it as is, that was one I had targeted. Okay, student use of technology in schools, this is new, and again, it's part of the fracturing one big acceptable use policy into various segments. This one also says students must agree to and sign, so we have some work to do on changing our statements. KDC is the community use of digital resources. This has a big change for us. This says all guests will be prompted to and must accept the district's digital use form before accessing the district network. We don't do that. So if you wanted to communicate with me
On your network.
On
my
our
net-
On here.
Be like
You
we're
have to
here.
be Here in the
Yeah.
building.
Yeah, that's like when you go,
Yeah.
if you use somebody's
Yeah.
Wi-Fi and then click on something.
exactly, we don't have it, so we will.
Is that something that's maybe to the
Yeah.
different place?
Yes, I would do it, yeah.
Do that.
Because you have other groups using the school building, so if they
Yeah.
use the internet, you don't wanna be
Yeah.
responsible for whatever.
Exactly.
Right, so I would have that accessible.
Right now, if somebody came into the building,
They could just access it.
they could just access it, we
Yes.
wouldn't know, because
Exactly,
our figure jigger doesn't have a whatchamacallit on it.
yeah, right. It's the bigger jigger.
The district website and social media, this is again a new one that is much more detailed. The one thing I like about this one is the third parenthetical, which is just global. Unauthorized use of district or school name is prohibited by everybody.
Mhm.
Doesn't say by students, by parents, by staff, nobody can do it, and I think that's appropriate. I was personally involved many years ago with the termination of a staff member who sent an email in the name of an administrator. So stuff like this is important. Even I understand it. Okay, EFC, free and we're out of technology, now we're into more
Lunch.
likable, tangible, and flavorful areas. So EMC is free and reduced price food services, that's our current one. They have changed its title to Universal Free School Meals. The worry I have is, what if the state decides that they're not gonna fund universal free meals anymore? But
They'll
it
have
is
to
what it
do
is.
that, yeah.
Once again, much more detail based on the new legislation. And it's a complete rewrite. And I recommend that we accept it and put it in our policy manual. And then the last one we don't have, and this is a school nutrition program charge policy.
I was curious about the charge for additional meals that we approve, because currently we don't do that.
That's correct. I don't think we need this policy. I think we're small enough and we're sensitive enough.
And don't we have a nutrition? We have a wellness, and we do have something that I remember looking into about nutrition and diet, because of all of the references to like the different state requirements for food.
Yeah, there's nothing in this policy that is actually problematic for us. I mean, it's just that
It's a charge policy. Yeah.
I don't like what it says and what it feels like.
I don't either.
Yeah.
God forbid a child is hungry.
I mean, we never had a complaint about our food service
Yeah.
procedures, I mean,
Delete.
so for example, part of this says. Parents and guardians may pay in advance for anticipated purchases beyond the free meal allowed during each meal service period. Well, we allow kids to buy extra pieces of pizza, but we don't make them do it in advance.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean,
So-
in all fairness, kids are different weeks and some might be exercise because they're, you know.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah. And once up,
Yeah. I think the last time we had pizza, I asked, Rocks, and I think we had 18 students eat 2 pizzas, if I'm not mistaken.
For the longest, they're the kids that can eat a whole
For
pizza.
the longest time, one of those was Kiala. I mean, she could Kiala has two pieces of pizza.
Oh, yeah.
So you agree that we don't need this?
I agree.
Yes,
Okay,
Thank
Yay,
you.
thank you so much. I know there's so much work that goes into all of these policies.
yeah, just so you know, I choose to do this, I just want you to know it. I come in on Wednesday. When all this is fresh in my mind. And get through just the policy, yeah, I do a couple of small other things, but, my worry is if I waited till Thursday, half of what
Right.
we were talking about, like. I got that paragraph,
I know, spot on.
that's because I did it Wednesday.
Wednesday.
So thank you, Tony.
Thank you, Tony. Is there any other committee business that we'd like to discuss?
The only other thing I wanted to mention is, both my junior positions, are expiring, are up for reelection.
Oh,
In
what?
April, and so it's in April, and I wasn't sure when our last date was, so I needed to talk with.
those positions.
The town elections are at the end of April. So the meeting before. Oh, they're all
We're
3 years.
3 years.
The only reason that anybody was ever less than 3 years is because somebody left in the middle of it. They're all 3-year terms.
Okay, so both of
Just-
you are.
Yes.
So there will be at least, I can speak for myself.
You want me to check with the town clerk?
No, it's at the town elections at the end of.
No, I mean, where you.
When our,
Oh,
yeah,
no.
when our commission starts.
Are you you're gonna run again, right? Oh, you're not?
Another week, right? So both.
But I will start drumming up interest.
So we need to find.
I'll start chatting it up.
You're not going anywhere. Leanna, you're not going anywhere.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's something that I'm definitely been talking to people
Yeah.
about, younger people taking, not, maybe not, maybe that's, but like,
With
younger
younger kids.
students, yeah, getting involved,
Mhm.
so.
There's a woman in my neighborhood, she had kids and she has grandkids here, and she had kids living here, she's interested. I'll
Oh,
talk to her.
yeah. It's so great to have such a diverse,
Yes.
Oh, absolutely.
voice at the table.
So, it's- And I'm not even to like, I can imagine having what you.
I know.
Like, God.
Right.
Madam Chair, I have a question, is that.
Yes, of course, that is.
Would everyone prefer if I send this to you electronically?
You did.
Oh, Eric,
You sent a motion.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah,
Of the
I don't
letter.
know.
Oh, no.
You sent it to us.
I don't know if it's the final.
so I have to send it to Leanne anyway. So I can just push another button. For the,
Sure.
Yeah.
Oh, are there any other announcements?
Make a motion to adjourn that one.
Second.
All in favor?
I
I Good night, ladies and gentlemen.
Good night, thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Good night, Leanna.
We got a lot done in 2 hours.
Yeah, we did.
Spent almost $700,000.
Well, necessary people.
You okay?
I felt getting out of the car.
You did?